All right, it's currently like 10:22 Eastern time, and my trading day is over. I made $408 across the accounts for a total of 800. I took just one trade on each account, and basically we just made back whatever we lost yesterday. So now this one's back at $80 away from the starting balance. This one's about 200 away. And let's get into the charts for what I wanted to see today. So our NQ, we took out this February 25th high a while ago. And on ES, we have it right here. So I wanted to see it catch up because obviously it's a really close proximity SMT. We've just been expanding all week. And NQ even has this high above it, which even right now it's only like 150 points away, which it definitely could get there, but after this super overextended range, I don't know. So coming into the day, I don't think I saw anything on the 4-hour or 6-hour worth mentioning. Right, but on the 1-hour, so we don't have any SMT with this low in general. All right, none of the assets trade into this gap from yesterday, this 1400 gap. All right, YM hadn't made it in there at the time. Mark it out like this. Right, 6 o'clock. So we just have a random low a day. The only thing we really have is a PSP right here. So as you can see, the 6 o'clock candle on YM is bearish, and on ES and NQ it is bullish. But what we did have is this 8 o'clock candle took out the 7 o'clock candle low, which obviously isn't the most relevant thing just because it's not a key level in and of itself. Right, you can see YM is a failure swing, but this candle is also bullish. So we do have a 2-stage PSP. Like I said, not super relevant because it's not at a key level, but it is something to keep in mind, and especially when you see the somewhat expansion away, you can assume that this is probably going to be a protected low, and this should be as well, as it also forms this opposing candle on both assets. Also, not to mention that, right, this is a Trump tweet. We take out the high of day and even the previous day high actually, but then just using phases of price to figure out if it's going to reverse off of that. Look what happens after. We just kind of consolidate and slow grind up. Obviously on YM, it's a lot more obvious, but even on ES, right, we're just consolidating in this range. So that means this is probably not going to be a reversal, and at the bare minimum, we need to resweep this high out on all assets. Well, not all of them, but at least YM or NQ. And at the time, there was a SMT here with this high as well, right? But you can just determine that it's fake just because of what we get afterwards. So I don't even come to the chart until like 8:45, 9 o'clock. I'm not allowed to trade until 9 o'clock, right? So, right, maybe we could see this CSD first, but then after that, obviously we make an inverse CSD, right? Now it's bullish, and then either way, it's still just not actually reversing off of its SMT. So you at least want to see YM take it out, which is why I was also bullish just temporarily to this short-term high. So what I was looking at was, all right, so we have this, the SMT is probably, it's not really showing on ES because they're made equal lows, but right here, it's here. And we made this change of state delivery on the 15-minute, or at least just a continuation order block, because this is technically the change state delivery. And then we also create a fair value gap. It's a pretty small one. On YM, it's a lot more convincing. I think it even looks better. But the thing is, there's no SMT with a gap itself. So I was actually trying to frame YM longs from this, because what we did have was the SMT with RTY. Right. See, RTY didn't trade into the gap. But the thing is, on YM, I tried to frame it to just this high because it doesn't really have anything close to it. It's only really ES that has a strong draw, in my opinion, maybe NQ. So I actually tried to take this a limit order, but since my account's not in the positive, I have a micro scaling rule, so I can only use 2 minis. Right, so doing that, it'd only be like $360, so that's only 1 hour. But we did have a 2-stage with R2I, so you can see initially R2I makes that SMT, then this 9 o'clock low, just 15-minute low gets taken out in this 918 candle. And even if I entered like when the SMT was created on YM, right here, even with if I snap the low somehow, it'd still only be 2 contracts, so I get more points, but it'd only be like 440, so it's not even worth it. Which obviously it's kind of the same as I would have got anyways with my ES trade, but yeah, it's also a small range trade. I'd rather trade ES a lot lower in the range to this high. And yeah, by the time YM hit the high, I try my ES trade. So basically I just took a 5-minute out of this gap, kind of based on YM and R2I. So the gap's right here. I just took this change state delivery, which I guess on the minis it didn't even close over, but on the micros, which is where I was, I took this closure. Though even if it didn't, on the 3-minute it definitely closed over, so I just set a limit there. So you see me kind of setting up for it. So I guess it never really closed over on the 5-minute, but the 3-minute it definitely did. And I kind of tried that out until the open. YM hit the high right here, which actually made a 90-minute SMT. So I marked that out because it could hold into the open, but I wasn't sure. And then I just held it into the open. I went break even though it was only like up 1 hour. There's no new invalidation besides this maybe. But yeah, then I just held it. It opened up. It looked like it wasn't gonna hold it at first, and then it did. So I was kind of just waiting. Eventually we did get that partial right here. Okay. I took about 70% off, like 71%. So that's why it's like a 1.3R trade. But it's only 2R to this high, just because of how close it is. And then the entire trade ran about 3.4R, I think it was, before YM and Q were super decoupled. YM made a new low a day, and then it eventually came back to stop me out. Well, I manually exited here. Right, so you can see I got in around 70, 10, 25, and got out at I guess was at 2 ticks above my entry price. And yeah, that was the trade. I feel like it wasn't that bad, honestly, because you can see it's still going right now to the high I was wanting. It's just that in hindsight, it's like this high is between these, the space between these is kind of a lot. But honestly, I think if it wasn't a decoupled open, it probably would have made it. So maybe when I saw YM making that new low a day, I probably could have like just TP'd at 3R, so it'd be like 2.5R total. But you see right now, ES is about to break this high. I wasn't really sure what to think because right, YM has a lot of strength, but it's kind of like last Friday where it probably needs it's probably waiting for ES to hit this high, and then maybe NQ will go down while YM is in the gap here somewhere. But yeah, I just thought it was lying because we had this SMT break with NQ. As you can see, this is where YM took out the high. Right here. So then we broke it here. And then on the 5-minute, you can see we're failing to manipulate because we took out the high right here. And then we close over. So it's a failure to manipulate. Also because when YM was making that new low a day at basically this 940 candle, which is this big opposing candle at NQ, we are still in equilibrium of the range. So that's advanced premium discount. So you don't really want to ignore that. And right, obviously we close over. You can't really take this trade because the stop loss, I mean, technically you could, but it's also like in the middle of nowhere on NQ. And it's a massive stop loss. It's like a 60-point stop loss. On ES, something to take, right? My entry was right here, so if I left it on, I would have got stopped out all the way. And then, I mean, unless you took like this failure swing, CSD or something like that, there's not really anything to get in. Even then, you can't get the right risk reward. So, yeah, in hindsight, I probably should have TP'd when I saw the decoupling, or just because the target was so far away, but it is what it is. that's my trading day. I didn't really care to stay in afterwards because the coupling was pretty confusing, and every time that I've gotten a partial and then tried to stay on to like ping pong the market, I pretty much ended up giving my profits back and then usually ending the day break even or red trying to chase it back. So I think my performance was fine. I just wish I kind of got a full TP, but it's not that big of a deal as it's only like an extra $200 if I did. So something like that. So that is it for me. We still have 2 days left of the week to try to get over the starting balance and then get closer to the buffer. Yeah, but that's pretty much my day. So yeah, like I said, it looked like we're about to hit there, but there's no way to get in really. I'm not even sure if I would trust this necessarily because the market is still decoupled, so you can't trade ES yet. I kind of just entered because I had a strong draw, and I didn't anticipate the market being decoupled as they were all pretty close. Like when YM took, I think this was like a Trump tweet or something like that. It took this high out at 924. Right, ES was right here. Right, we're well into premium, and even on NQ. We were a little bit over equilibrium, but still in premium, so it's still pretty close to proximity. So I wouldn't anticipate the open to be decoupled like that. But it seems like oftentimes it's how it's been, instead of like kind of in sync, but one of them's just weaker than the other one. But yeah. Anyways, probably too much talking, so that's my trade for today. Looks like my draw is correct, so I'll be hopping off tomorrow. I probably want to see some kind of retracement. YM's already kind of giving it, but we might get an SMT fill maybe with this Tuesday low, which is obviously a gap on NQ and ES. But I still want to see them trade lower just because of how extended this daily range is. But we'll see what happens. So that's it for me. I'll see you guys tomorrow.